So this is my Kaiju Graydle 2.0. Since there's a couple new Graydles as well as a couple other cards that I like to play with, that will eventually be staples, right? As in Twin Twister and Solemn Notice. So that's some new staples that I'm playing with. And then we got Mad Flame Kaiju. We got the new Sea Turtle Kaiju and the new multi-dimensional Kaiju. To play, these obviously are the two new ones. There is a trap. This is Kaiju Capture. Oops, typed it wrong. There we go. Kaiju Capture Mission is a decent card. It's a decent card. I have no need for it personally. I'll do just fine without it. But it's a decent card. Anyway, I'm using 3 Kaijus, 3 copies of each, of course. They all have the ability where you can tribute them and special summon that type position to your point side by tributing one of their monsters. You can only control 1 Kaiju at a time, which means you can only put 1 Kaiju on your opponent's side of the field, and you can only control 1 Kaiju on your side of the field, right? As well as, if your opponent controls a Kaiju, you can special summon a Kaiju from your hand to your side of the field. But again, you can only control 1 at a time. There is no summoning restrictions, as in like the way Lava Golem is, where if you summon Lava Golem, you can't summon anything or set anything. So unless it's special summoning, you can't like normal summon or set. So you can't block the fact that you gave somebody a big monster, So you can summon the Graydles. So here's Graydle Eagle, Graydle Cobra, and Graydle Alligator. So what you'll do is, trigger 1 of your opponent's monsters for Mad Flame Kaiju, for example. Summons, like Graydle Eagle. Attack, take 1500 points of damage, and then take control of Mad Flame Kaiju. Equip Graydle Eagle as an equip card, and then attack your opponent for 3000. And and you can do that to Sea Turtle, and you can do that to multi-dimensional Kaiju, using the Graydles to steal back the Kaijus. You can also use the continuous trap card, remove brainwashing, to gain control back of your Kaijus after you give them to your opponent. Something to note, since remove brainwashing is in the deck, that will counteract the effect of the Graydles. So yeah, play smart. Be careful about trying to use the Graydles effects to take something like your opponent's monsters, because you can take your own Kaiju and not be a problem. You're the original owner of the Kaijus. But if you use the Graydle Cobras to take one of your opponent's monsters, if remove brainwashing is on the field, they'll get that monster back. But anytime remove brainwashing is removed from the field, then you will get the control of the monster. Each Graydle has the condition that if they're destroyed by battle, or if they're destroyed by battle in the monster zone, you can take control of your opponent's monster and equip the Graydle monster to the monster. But Graydle Eagle also has the condition that if a monster effect sends this card to the graveyard, you can take control of a face-up monster your opponent controls. Graydle Cobra has the condition that if a trap card effect sends this card to the graveyard, you gain control of a face-up monster your opponent controls. And Alligator has the effect that if a spell card effect destroys and sends this card to the graveyard, you gain control of a face-up monster your opponent controls. So we got Kyoto Seafront. It's the Kaiju field spell. Each time a card or card is sent to the field, is sent from the field to the graveyard, place 1 Kaiju counter on this card for each card's maximum 5. Once per turn, while there are 3 or more Kaiju counters on this card, you can add 1 Kaiju monster from your deck to your hand. You don't have to remove none of the counters to get that effect. You just gotta have 3 or more on this card in order to just once per turn, search out your Kaijus. If this card would be destroyed, you can remove one Kaiju counter from this card instead. So it's really good. It protects itself as long as it has counters. And the ability to search out a Kaiju every turn is awesome, right? Then you have the condition that you got multi-dimensional Kaiju, which lets you remove 2 Kaiju counters from anywhere on the field, and then special summon a 2800 level 7 Dark Fiend type token with 0 defense. But it can't be used for single materials. Then you have my newest favorite, Sea Turtle Kaiju. During either player's turn, when an opponent activates a card or effect, except for Sea Turtle's effect, you can remove 2 Kaiju counters from anywhere on the field, negate the activation. If you do, banish that card. It's pretty good. It's similar to like Stardust Assault mode or Quasar or something like that, right? But it banishes the card in the process, which is awesome. Awesome in one way, not so awesome in another way, because since you're banishing the card, the Waterfront doesn't get any counters for that. So it's not like it infinitely fills itself up. Like, somebody plays a card and you're like, so like say somebody play MST, you're like, all right, negate it, removing 2 counters, and then the MST goes to graveyard, and then you get 1 counter for that. It doesn't happen. Since it banishes it, you don't get that counter. So it's good one way, not so good another way, because of the fact that you're not going to keep getting counters every time you negate something. You know what I mean? That's the only thing. They try to make sure you didn't. But banishing something permanently, it's a really good effect. So can't argue with them results, right? Mad Flame Kaiju has the ability that once per turn you can remove 3 Kaiju counters from anywhere on the field. Destroy all monsters your opponent controls. And this card cannot attack the turn you activate this effect. That's pretty good. You have your little mass removal card right there. You got your little control negation card right there. And then you got your little token engine right there. So that's pretty good, right? And then you got your Graydles to take control of these really, really nice cards. Be careful about giving your opponent Sea Turtle while the field spell is on the field, because they can negate your card effects with it, and you don't want that. You want Sea Turtle on your side of the field. You don't want your opponent to have Sea Turtle on their side of the field. One way I like to get Sea Turtle on the field, and avoid any issues, especially if I have the field spell on the field, is discard it with Wing Blast or with Twin Twister, and then call a Haunted and get it onto the field. And nice, and that's nice and simple. Now we have Release Restraint Wave. Release Restraint Wave, it's your harpies, as it were. It's your mass back row removal card. Select one face-up equipped spell card you control, destroy it, and all set spell and trap cards your opponent controls. The Graydles, when they are equipped to your opponent's monsters or to a Kaiju or whatnot, they become equipped cards. They're treated as equipped cards, so you can use Release Restraint Wave on them in order to activate Release Restraint Wave. This is a good way of getting rid of a whole bunch of back row all in one shot. Twin Twister. By discarding a card from your hand as the cost for this card effect, you can target up to 2 spell and trap cards on the field and destroy them. So it's a 2 for 2, you know what I mean? By discarding a card, you can pop 2 cards. This is good for when somebody has a pendulum scale. You can pop both monsters in the pendulum zone, or you can just pop some back row. Also it's good if you want to get rid of somebody's card and your own card. Let's say for some reason you want to get rid of remove brainwashing. Alright, you play this, discard a card, destroy your remove brainwashing and a card they have face down, or just a card, a card in their spell and trap card zone. Not spell zone, just a spell or trap card, and then destroy it, because this does work on pendulums. And then just destroy it. So it's up to you how you want to use it, and it's a quick play, so that's really, really good. Then we got Phoenix Wave Wind Blast. Discard one card, then target one card your opponent controls. Place that target on top of the deck. So this is a way you can slow your opponent down, by throwing stuff on top of their deck that they have to just redraw and reuse. Like, let's say they set a trap, and then during their end phase, you wing blast it back on top of the deck. Then it's your turn, you draw, you play your turn, then you end your turn, your opponent draws that card, sets it again, ends their turn. So you kind of gaining extra turns by doing so. This effect doesn't destroy, so it's useful against monsters that you don't want to destroy. You know what I mean? Like Shaddolls and Yang Zings and stuff like that. You don't want to destroy them, or there's monsters that can't be destroyed. So Wing Blast is really good because it doesn't destroy. This is good against Stardust Dragon. Stardust Dragon, prevents cards from being destroyed. Since it doesn't destroy, this just bounces, spins a card on your opponent controls back into the deck. It's really good. Also, it doesn't just work on only monsters or just spells and traps. It works on any card that your opponent controls, so it makes it very versatile. Solemn notice: when a monster or monsters would be special summoned, or a monster effect is activated, pay 1500 life points and get the special summon or activation, which is the whole monster effect activation, right? If you do, destroy that card. So this is good, when your opponent, pendulum summons, summons a lot of monsters all at once. You can pay 1500, negate all their summonings, and send them to the graveyard. This is also good if your opponent, activates a monster effect, like, I summon a Kaiju, a Graydle, and attack with a Graydle. Activate the Graydle's effect. Alright, I pay 1500 to negate that. So that way you don't take my monster. I still have a monster to attack you with. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. So it's a really good card because it doubles as a Divine Wrath and as a warning, or Black Hornet, or a Great Hornet Heaven, or whatever you want to look at it. So obviously, really good against pendulums, and also good against any effect-based decks, which pretty much every deck that people play have effects you definitely want to get rid of, like Quasar, like Stardust Assault, most Stardust, so on and so on. There's a list. I mean, this card is obviously good against Sea Turtle, and it's a counter trap, so it's a spell speed 3, so it's pretty fast, right? So you don't have to worry about somebody countering or chaining a monster effect or any effect to stop this card from doing its effect. They have to use a counter trap to counter this, to respond to that. I already mentioned remove brainwashing lets you gain control back of your Kaiju when you're not using the Graydles. Call the Haunted, it's a way of getting the Graydles back. It's definitely good with Cobra, because if you call the Haunted, bring back Cobra, then your opponent's like, alright, well, I'm an MST call the Haunted, well then I get the Cobra's effect and take control of your monster anyway. So that's one target for Call Haunted. The other ones, of course, is the Sea Turtle, Mad Flame, multi-dimensional Kaiju, so you can reuse them over and over again. And Soul Charge, also, for the same purpose of bringing back your Graydles for, defense, and or your Kaijus for, their power. I typically like using it, obviously, once I discard Sea Turtle and I have Soul Charge, I use Soul Charge to bring back Sea Turtle with a field spell, while the field spell has some counters, and and sit on that 3000 defense and negate shit left and right. Since this effect can be activated multiple times, as long as you have 2 Kaiju counters every time. And since the maximum counters that can be on this card at any given time is 5, you can negate up to 2 cards per turn. As long as you keep filling up the field spell with more Kaiju counters. Wind Up Zen Main. Decent card. I'm not gonna waste too much time explaining a lot of the effects of these cards, since these will be situational. Wind Up Zen Main, you can use 2 Kaijus to create this, or 2 level 3s you took from your opponents. I mean, not Kaijus, Graydles to create this, or 2 level 3s you took from your opponent's monsters. You took from your opponent with the Graydles. If you take 2 level 4s from your opponent, you can make Rhapsody and Berserk, which is useful for getting rid of anything in the graveyard, especially anything problematic. you know, like Stardust Assault mode or something that's in the graveyard that will come back and you don't want it to come back. So you can use this to get rid of it, or just get rid of stuff in the graveyard in general, so your opponent can't, you know, keep doing some graveyard combos or shenanigan, like a triple frog or something. Castillo, the Sky Blaster. Attach 2 materials, target 1 face-up card, spin it back into the owner's deck. Really useful effect. If you have 2 level 4s, you can summon him, of course. To recycle your, you know, Kaijus and your Graydles and even your monsters in your extra deck, you know, Emerald, you need 2 level 4s to, you know, to make this. You'll more likely get them by stealing your opponent's monsters, obviously. The way you'll make down a magician, one way is you have 2 level 4 spellcatcher type monsters, or on your main phase tool, you can summon it by using one of your opponent's rank 3 or lower XYZ monsters that you stole with a Graydle. If you stole one of your opponent's Ghost Trick XYZ monsters, you can use it to summon Ghost Trick Angel of Mischief. If you stole one of your opponent's Teller Knight monsters, in your main phase 2, you can summon Stellar Knight Constellar Diamond. If you stole your opponent's rank 4 Utopia monster, which means it has to be an XYZ monster, you can summon this. Number S39 Utopia the Lightning, which has a pretty good effect. It could become 5,000, and it could, when it attacks, what the heck can I? Yeah, your opponent can activate card effects when he attacks, which is really good. Then we have number S39 Utopia Prime. If you have 3 level 4 light monsters, you can summon it that way. Or if you have a number 39 Utopia, you can summon this on top of that. And it has 2510 attack, which is interesting, right? If you stole your opponent's rank 5 or rank 6 XYZ monster, you can summon this on top of it, and it has piercing. It has the piercing effect, where it can the opponent damage regardless if their monster's in defense mode. Then we got Cyber Dragon Infinity. If you stole your opponent's Cyber Dragon Nova, you can summon this on top of Cyber Dragon Nova, and now you have Cyber Dragon Infinity. If you stole your opponent's Constellar XYZ monster, like an Omega or a Pleiades or something like that, you can summon Constellar Ptolemy M7 on top of that. If you stole your opponent's Galaxy Eyes XYZ monster, you can summon Galaxy Eyes Full Armor Photon Dragon on top of that. It's a nice little 4,000 beater. And if you took somebody's Galaxy Eyes XYZ monster, you can summon number 95 Galaxy Eyes Dark Matter Dragon, which is also another nice 4,000 beater. And of course, it does have some abilities. Go check them out on your own. And Chimera Forces Dragon, just in case there's Cyber Dragon machine type monsters on the field. In general, you don't have to really take anything. Like you bring a Chimera Forces. It's just a Cyber Dragon has to be in the field with a couple machine types, and then send them to the graveyard and summon Chimera Forces Dragon. Pretty useful if you're going up against a Cyber Dragon deck. And it's just there just in case. Since you're not going to really use your extra deck that much, you can splash it in a little random tech card, right? And that's the end of the deck profile.